right, so without further ado, I guess the show must go on. So we could just do a quick introduction of myself and Enrique, and then we'll just kind of go from there. And just because I'll be teaching the EFA course, and then Enrique is going to be the advisor for the course. So my name is Jerry Lovelace. I teach sociology here at Clackamas Community College. I also teach criminology as well and have a lot of background in human services too. So it's kind of fun. It'll be a fun course to teach. I'm just taking over the course and prepping it for the fall this summer. So I've just been learning a lot on the fly. And chances are, Eric and Jessica and Enrique know more about it than I, so at many points, but I'll answer and do the best I can and answer the questions the best I can. So Enrique, if you want to just give a quick little introduction, that'd be awesome.
Yes, hi everybody. Good to see you guys. My name is Enrique. I'm one of the advisors here with the Social Science EFA, my favorite EFA. And I've been here at the college 10 years, and my background is somewhat in social science as well. Thank you.
That's cool. Which social science specifically?
Anthropology. That was my bachelor's, yes, and my master's was policy and education out of PSU, but heavy on the sociology piece.
Awesome.
So, cultural capital, social capital.
For sure. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Just to kind of get through the presentation, and hopefully get to some good questions and conversations as well. And so let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and share my screen here just to get the PowerPoint slides started. And let me make sure I have screen 2 being shared. So that's the right screen. I kind of mess that up every once in a while, and get this to full screen here so we can all see it. So this is the Social Sciences, Human Services, Criminal Justice virtual preview day. And we're just going to be talking about the different disciplines, the different areas of study, different degrees offered, and what the course will cover as well when I get to teaching it in the fall. So the social sciences, human services, and criminal justice, they seem very different, but they're all about helping, studying people, helping people, serving people, protecting people. They all have that in common. So they're focused on human behavior, society, social relationships. Each one of the different disciplines has their, departments, has their transfer programs, has, careers as well for all of the individual disciplines within each of the departments, right? So we don't have time to get into all of those, but that's kind of what the course generally will be, curtailed toward. And as you can see, there are quite a few different degrees and certificates offered through Clackamas Community College and the different programs. A lot of the social sciences that we'll talk about are going to be, transfer degrees, and largely most of the students that I have are AAOT, which is the Associate of Arts in Oregon transfer degrees. So it just ensures that whatever you major in, let's say you major in anthropology, Enrique fired you up and was like, wow, that, anthropology sounds amazing. Well, then you probably want to go with the AAOT to ensure that you transfer in as a junior to that 4-year college that you go to in Oregon. I don't have my chat box open, but if you guys could monitor the chat just in case, feel free to post any questions in the chat. We can get to them on the fly, but we could also get to them later after the presentation too. So there's also the AAS degree, which is Associate in Applied Science, and that's largely connected to human services and criminal justice, since they're more applied sciences rather than social sciences. And then we also have the certificates, the CPCC, I even have these acronyms written down, Career Pathways Certificate of Completion. That's less than a year, and certificates of completion are like 1-year programs, right? That will help you, get into that field. So transfer opportunities, these are all the social sciences listed that we offer, at least that I could find on the website. I spent a lot of time navigating it to try to, make sure I didn't miss anybody. But this looks like a lot, and in the course, my objective and goal will be to, introduce you at least subtly to all of these different disciplines in some way, shape, or form. Explore, how anthropology and sociology and psychology can be very similar, as they're all social sciences, but they're also very different too, and how so? And then also what kind of careers are associated with those specific things too. So that'll be part of the course as well. And you see our top transfer schools. Like I did my grad studies at Portland State University, but there was also OSU, University of Oregon, and so on. And the transfer opportunities, you can also go, transfer to a four-year college, majoring not just in the social sciences, but also some of the fields that are under the criminal justice umbrella or the human services umbrella, such as criminal justice, social work, human development, and family studies. All right, so we have the programs of study. These are ones that you can actually earn degrees outside of the AAOT or the transfer degrees, right? So, you have the criminal justice AAS, that's, the associates in applied science, it's the 2-year degree, remember? You got alcohol and drug counseling, the CPCC, so that's less than a year to complete. And it just depends on what you're interested in. Ultimately, are you interested in working with older adults in gerontology? Are you interested in working with young kids who might be involved in the criminal justice system? Then chances are you want to go with juvenile corrections. And that's some of the things that we'd be exploring in the class as well. And then related activities and opportunities, there's clubs, the Associated Student Government, the ASG, when they were talking about in the financial aid section about tuition waivers, a lot of people in positions in the Associated Student Government here at Clackamas will get a tuition rate waiver. And it's also good to get involved with, because a lot of times when you're studying social phenomena and you're realizing that things aren't equal, things are unfair, a lot of people want to get involved to make things more equal, to make things more fair. And, our clubs here at CCC and the Associated Student Government and the Multicultural Center are all great places to do that. We also offer a cooperative work experience through human services and criminal justice as well. Some of those programs have mandatory cooperative work experience. That's hands-on internships, but that are tied to learning objectives. So making sure that you're learning as well as putting in hours in the field, which is great for your, your resume as well. So, all right. And then to learn more, here's Enrique's contact email, and then Jody as well as a secondary contact. You can visit the web, and there's specific, places on the web that I can show you if you need to be shown like where the departments are, where the information is about the different programs and all of that at the Clackamas site. But let's go ahead and open it up to questions. All right, I'm trying to pull up the chat here. This full screen actions got me. Oh, there we go. So I can stop the share. And let's look at nothing in the chat. How about you all? Any questions at all? Help me out. Yes, Eric.
Jerry, I have a question. What is an EFA and why are we talking about it?
It's EFA as an educational focus area. And mainly what it is just introducing students. It's a class introducing students to certain fields of study, right? And so if you're interested in the social sciences, you might not know exactly which discipline you're interested in the social sciences, or you might not understand, the difference between social science and human services. So mainly the course is about just fleshing that out. It's a 2-credit course. It's pretty simple. And we're just exploring all of the different disciplines and careers that are associated with, social sciences, human services, and criminal justice. Yeah.
Thank you for that answer. Can I ask a second question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I talk a lot. I talk a lot. Now, my question would be, if I was a brand new student and I didn't quite know what I wanted to study and I didn't quite know what degree I wanted to get, if I found the right EFA that fits me, is there any way that's going to help me save time or save money as a student?
I think Enrique could probably answer this a little bit better, but my initial answer will be, and hopefully Enrique can expand on this. is that, yeah, because, once you find a path, that's what guided pathways is all about, is finding what you're interested in, right? And focusing on that as quickly as you can as a college student. The sooner that you find that path that you want to be on, the more money that you're going to save, rather than taking a bunch of different classes, right? That you don't need or may not apply or may not transfer. So that's my answer, but I'm sure there's other people like Enrique, you know more about this, I'm sure.
That's a great question, and it's a great answer, a really concise answer of why it's important to talk to your faculty members and the advisors, because we can help you navigate those difficult decisions or tricky descriptions in the catalog or something that you might hear from your friends, because not every student is the same. Everybody has a different path, a similar path. In some cases, students want to go to PSU or they want to go Oregon State for different majors within the social science, but there's small differences. So it's very important that you talk to us, but that is a correct answer, Jerry.
Excellent, thank you.
And then my last thing would be like, so if I was transferring to university and I found my EFA quickly, then I wouldn't take classes that don't count. I wouldn't pay for classes that don't count. My classes would be counting towards that transfer degree. And so that might help me along my path.
Absolutely, and also it will help you with focusing on applying for financial aid, because there's scholarships that are catered to very specific paths, right? For gerontology or the social science. So that will help you get further funding in addition to the general scholarship. So that's something to look into.
I see that Mrs. Morris posted to the chat. What kind of careers does the AAS in criminal justice lead to? Is an AAS enough to qualify for many jobs, or would a 4-year degree be necessary for jobs in criminal justice? I'll give a quick answer, but again, Enrique is probably going to know a lot more about this since he's more familiar with all 3 of the programs in general, especially when it comes to careers and transferring and such. But our programs here at Clackamas, from my study and understanding, is that largely the one AAS is going to be focused more toward law enforcement, and then there's another one focused more toward corrections. So if you're looking at law enforcement or corrections, those can really help get you into that field. And remember, there's that cooperative work experience as well, where you're actually going to be assigned a work site and actually be working in the field, which once again is great for your resume, but it's also great to explore it and to understand that maybe this field isn't right for me. Maybe I'm in law enforcement and doing cooperative work experience there, but I actually want to be in corrections or maybe victim services or somewhere else in the criminal justice system, maybe even in the courts. So depending on what you want to do ultimately. Enrique, can you further on that for me?
Yes, that's a really good question, and that is a typical question when people, I'm not sure where in the criminal justice field they want to focus. So having a 1-year certificate or working towards that will kind of allow you to expand your scope where you want to focus on, because then you can define either corrections, police officer, or sheriff, or kind of a social worker within the criminal justice system. The degrees and the credentials and requirements for each field are a little bit different. Most common, police departments don't require a college degree or a 2-year degree, just a high school degree. But the more education you have, the more competitive you become. So I always tell students, if you decide to get a transfer degree later on or a bachelor's degree, if you have at least a 1-year certificate, all those classes will count for your application process, but at the same time for electives, because you still need about 15 to 19 credits of electives for a transfer degree. And that gives you more knowledge in the field. Now, that being said, I personally like to recommend to think about the bachelor's, because the police departments and everything that's been happening in the country, they're looking for more well-rounded or more versed candidates when it comes to the application process. It's becoming more competitive. And if you want to get promoted long-term, that will help you a lot. That will make a significant difference on your pay. As a starting point, all those are great, but they do help you define the path. But I always tell people, think long-term, think 5-8 years from now. It's kind of hard, but think about the salary, think about the benefits, and think about how the impact that you'll be making by having more of a deeper background. And most police officers that we've talked to have said, you know, we don't want just you to be focused on criminal justice or corrections, because we will train you to our own policies and procedures. And you still have to go through the academy or their own programs. So they want you to be open to a new perspective. So it all depends what you want to do. So it's a really good question.
And a lot of times, from my understanding, because I actually was a pre-law major when I was at the University of Montana as an undergrad, and what sort of my understandings were that, you know, in the different fields of law enforcement and the different careers in law enforcement, you know, I'm kind of blanking out on where I was going a little bit. I think I've been on Zoom too long today, but you know, I feel like that, you know, what I'm hearing, at least from you, Enrique, is that, you know, a 4-year degree is going to get you a lot further than a 2-year degree ultimately, right? Even helping you get your foot in the door. But from what I've heard also is that, hey, the law enforcement likes also, you know, additional fields of study in there too, to increase the diversity of the officers. So there's a lot of people who major in psychology, sociology, and some of the other social sciences that end up in law enforcement or community corrections, or even, you know, corrections as well. So there's that route as well too.
The one thing I would say about that is if you start off with a certificate and then find out what that certificate can do for you in terms of getting a career, then even if you pursue the bachelor's degree beyond the certificate, as Enrique said, a lot of the classes that counted toward the certificate are also going to count toward that degree. And then if you earn your bachelor's degree, you'll have a bachelor's degree plus that certificate, and that might make you look a little better than just a candidate who just has a bachelor's degree.
And also, a lot of students express, you know, I want to work for the FBI or a federal agency. That's when it comes into play, the bachelor's and the additional certificate. And something that I do at least once a quarter, I look at the FBI's website or the federal agencies, and they're very specific. They want business, accounting, or cybersecurity, because yes, they're under criminal justice or system, but they have very specific, unique specialties. Something has come up recently. I don't know why. Maybe there's a popular show out there, but forensic anthropology. And I always tell people, look, it's not like what TV is. You really have to be focused on your math and your chemistry, because it does require that sort of background. It's a long-term type of path. But it is good to have those aspiration or dreams, or think about where do I see myself? And once you narrow down to your top 2, let's work on that path to get you there to transfer.
Yeah, I feel one of the most important parts is just getting a credential of some sort and starting in the field, like Eric's saying, to see where that gets you. I remember, you know, capping out in my social services career, and I was like, gosh, I need to go back to grad school, you know, because I can't become a director or a program manager really without having a master's. So that's when I ultimately decided to go into teaching, because I got to the top that I could get to with my 4-year degree. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, cool. I've always loved sociology and higher education, so I might as well just switch over to that. And so eventually got that degree, and then had to go back, and maybe someday I'll need a doctorate and have to go back. So, you know, once you reach those ceilings, you kind of, you know, have to continue your education or training or whatever it takes to get to that next level in your career. Yeah, and hopefully that helps as well. Yeah, I just wanted to, sorry to rush the presentation or the introductions. I just want to get to the questions. And this is where I feel a lot of the productivity of these kind of introductions and, you know, forums come, you know, from the just actual conversations that we're having, right? And everybody's chiming in. Well, if you need to, you can always contact me, Jerry Lovelace, and you can find me on the college website, or Enrique as well. Yeah, I look forward to having you in some of our classes in the future, and here at Clackamas. Take care, everybody. Have a good night. Enjoy the sunshine.